everyone, and welcome to the Vegas Legal Magazine podcast. I'm Mark Fierro with Vegas Magazine publisher Tyler Morgan, Fierro Communications Vice President Jeff Haney. Thank you so much for joining us today. Homes in Las Vegas are selling faster than an army of construction workers can build them. Existing home sales are seeing price increases of up to 30% a year in some parts of the valley, according to published reports. As Yogi Berra once said, it sounds like deja vu all over again. The question, is this a bubble? Are we headed for another crash? Our guest today, Joshua Nieves of the mortgage team, Residential Mortgage Services, a longtime mortgage broker in Las Vegas. He knows the market. He knows how to get loans done. Josh, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. It's an honor to be here.
You know, the good news, the really, really good news is we're not moving 4 homes a month like we were for months there in the bottom of the recession. But is it getting too hot? That's the question.
I don't think it's getting too hot. I think it's definitely warm. We've got a lot of growth to go from where we were at the time of the turn of the recession. Average house prices today are about $280,000. Back when that turn happened and we had the foreclosure epidemic happen, we were at about $315,000. So a lot of growth there. Also, we've got full doc loans being issued in the state of Nevada. Back then, when all that bubble happened, a lot of people were just had a pulse. You got a loan. Today, you really have to have your income, your assets. You really have to have your items in a row and be prepared for home ownership. And I think that a lot of the steps that Nevada took in those changes is really having an impact today for that.
Let's turn around for a second. Instead of going from 40,000 feet, let's talk about your customers, the people that come to your door. What does it take to get a loan done now? Are they 10% loans? What's going on?
I see a lot of variances of that. That's a great question. One, we've got 2 bases here in town, so there's a lot of veterans, a lot of VA loans that happen. There's some 5% down, 3% down payment options in the market for entry-level financing if you're below $453,000. And we've got some state money. So Nevada State is very committed to helping people get home, and so there's down payment assistance programs that help people out with anywhere from 3 to 5% of their down payment up to $20,000 right now for a very special program that's here for a short time.
So if you're buying a house that's $450,000 or less, you can actually go ahead with a 5%, as low as a 5% down payment?
Correct, and even sometimes 3%,
Wow.
Depending on credit score and depending on your income level.
Really?
So
That wasn't around when I bought my house, I can tell you that much. I was 20% down.
I can tell you this. Before we're going further, I don't want this to be left unsaid. Joshua helped me out years ago on a home that I still own, and absolutely one of the most resourceful guys, and got me in. Just moved things around. And said, "Why don't you try this on?" And we ended up giving the seller full price, but we ended up having them take care of the whole HVAC. It was wild what you did, but it was just so beneficial for me, and I always remembered that very. So he's good with numbers. He knows how to work the system.
When you talk about inventory and the lack of inventory, enough inventory, in layman's terms, what exactly does that mean? What drives inventory in a market? Are any homes like artificially being held back off the market, or is anyone deciding exactly when to put it on the market? Could you address that issue? I know that's a big one that comes up all the time.
absolutely. The inventory right now, it is as low as it was in 2008. And that's before the bank started releasing the properties. Right now, one of the reasons for low inventory is that there's a lot of homes that have been sold and a lot of happy homeowners that don't want to move. Also, we've grown in population. So from 2008 to now, what are we, 800,000, maybe a million heavier? I think it's about 600,000 to 800,000 heavier than where we were. Those are all people that need, all families that need homes. And so with those people coming in, with the current people in Las Vegas buying the homes, that's creating that inventory shortage, which you have the supply and demand there. So I think a lot of that just stems from the houses being resold. Is there a lot of shadow or bank-owned foreclosure inventory? There's still some, but we're at all-time low levels than what we've been. Short sales and foreclosures are at a very low level.
Are there any like big plans for a lot of new home builds coming out in the valley, or?
From what I see, there's a lot of new neighborhoods. I was just recently out in the north on a new home tour with one of the nonprofit organizations that I participate in, and it was very interesting to see the neighborhoods. The builders are at full speed. They cannot build them fast enough. They've even got neighborhoods or sub-communities out at Tule Springs. They're going out as far down to the far south. So they are building and filling up all the pockets in the valley. But again, probably the best opportunity to buy a new home has been now. Again, the wait time, though, you're 4 to 6 months out until you can get the keys to your house.
There's one of the most important indices in what's happening with the market is time on the market. And we looked at a couple of houses that looked like they fit, looked like it was going to be in the right price range and everything else, and bang, they were gone before we could tender an offer. There was a house 2 doors down from me that I'd wanted for years. I thought, if that thing ever comes up for sale, I'm buying it. It went up for sale, went to look at it. It sold 2 hours after the listing. First person that walked through the door bought it for the asking price. Is that becoming the norm now, where you're getting 2 and 3 days on the market for existing homes?
I believe it comes down to house price for that.
Okay.
However, yes, I have had multiple people that have moved up by, have sold their house in the last 6 months. They've had multiple offers in anywhere from 1 to 5 days. Lots and lots of offers. I think the other day I knew a listing that went live. It had 38 showings in the first 48 hours with multiple offers by the weekend. Again, that's price and condition. If your house is a diamond and you've taken care of it and it is in the right price range, it's going to move pretty quickly. Now, again, the higher end homes are taking a little bit longer. I would say anything above 600,000 is probably taking 30 to 60 days to sell right now, maybe even upwards of 75. If it's not absolutely immaculate. If it's immaculate and someone's been looking for it, it will sell pretty quickly.
Are you seeing any change recently in demand for higher end homes versus more, say, affordable housing than there were in years prior? Like, do you get a sense that there's more wealth in the valley coming in and people are looking for more custom homes and higher end homes? Or do you think it's sort of just, there's just a lot more people looking for homes in more of the affordable price ranges?
There is a lot more wealth in the valley. We have a lot more professionals here. A lot of our companies, the gaming companies that supported our hotels, have moved their headquarters here, built buildings along the 215 freeway. We've had Amazon fulfillment center come in. We've had FedEx come in. We've had Credit One Bank come in. We've had Sutherland come in off of Sahara and Durango. So we've had a lot of professional companies move into the valley in the last 5 to 6 years. And with that, they're bringing their CEOs, they're bringing their top paid employees, and they're bringing wealth to the valley. So I do believe that that wealth is helping out, but we are hitting an income level. I believe that the income in the valley will put a cap on how much higher our houses can go.
And how does Las Vegas compare with other regions around the nation as far as the strength of the housing market, like locally here versus nationwide?
Well, we were number one on the foreclosure list for a long time, and I believe we're number 1 or 2 to buy right now in the nation. So a lot's turned around for us in Las Vegas. Nationally, there's some places that are just overpriced and do not have the income for them, but there's still some really great places in the nation to buy, and I just really believe it comes down to what the inventory availability is, and we were low for a long time.
You know, I've talked to a few friends that are realtors, and a lot of them seem pretty excited about the whole Raiders coming to Las Vegas and the development of the practice facility out in Henderson, sort of by the M Resorts. Is that really something that's going to drive a lot more building toward that Henderson area and that just straight south area of the city?
Well, there's already been some plans in place for a long, long time. Do I think it's going to help? It's going to definitely help with the development of that area. It's going to bring some businesses around it. It's going to bring some traffic. Some people are going to want to be living around that area that are very passionate about that sport and
It's
about
like
that.
Inspirada won't seem so far away. Because
Right.
more people will start living out there.
Right, and I was just driving out there the other day, and they had actually double lane roads. It didn't feel like I was gonna, roll off of a bump and into the desert. So there was a couple extra lights that I wasn't used to. So it's definitely growing out there. As far as values, I think that the higher end homes will see more of a value push because of the Raiders coming here, because those players are going to buy up in the hills. And so those higher end homes are really going to be what you see probably the value of those going up on.
The big impact, one would imagine, is the construction phase, because every single one of those workers needs a house. They need something, and has been the case for years in Las Vegas. We're like an island, irrespective of anything else about Las Vegas. We're like an island, and you're either here or you're not here. But if you're here, when you need things, it puts a demand directly on this valley that can only be fulfilled by this valley. So in a case of construction worker, at a minimum, they bring one other job with them. The flip side of that is when construction completes, that can wind down pretty quickly. But for those who have been in Las Vegas for a long, long time, the second biggest dynamic that pushes the economy is growth itself. And so we fed off of that growth. Every month we would hear the same thing, day in, month out, month in, month out, and that is that Las Vegas was the fastest growing community in the nation. Until the day that the recession hit us, that was unblemished. That was just a continuous streak, it just the way that Las Vegas grew. Now, once again, now we're back in that role where we're back to, it's happened a couple of times since the first of the year, where we are the fastest job creator in the entire country. So I think the pressure to build is just going to continue for as long as these big projects are in place, and hopefully that doesn't hide some other fissures, that are below that. How much are we protected by, do you think? How much are we protected by these higher threshold loans, where it's not just the amount of cash that you put down in order to take out the loan, but it's the information, the proven income? How much does that protect all of our collective home values?
The banks are pretty strict. They really, if you're above $453,000, if you're trying to buy $1 million home per se, is that what you're asking me?
Yep.
They've got some extra steps in process. You got to have some pretty good reserves in bank. They want to make sure that you can sustain that payment. They're looking for low debt to income ratio, high FICO score. It is to get a prime rate in that higher end buying. They're really looking for that 720 higher score. Yes, you can get a loan at 680, but the terms are not going to be as good as they were if you had that 720 or higher.
7 is good, not as good as 720.
What are the rates at right now?
Anywhere from 4.75 on a 30-year fixed, all the way up to 6.25, 6.75 for some of
That's
the
changed
programs.
a lot in the last couple of years.
So
It happens
yeah, we've gone up
quickly,
almost
You
almost a
borrow
full
$1 trillion
point.
a year, you see what happens?
Wow, that's a big change.
Almost a full point. The government has rolled back their bond buying nationally. So we saw the first glimpse of that in October, then we saw it again in January, then we saw it again in April. We'll see another pullback of that bond buying happen in July. The biggest key factor and what I look at often is the 10-year treasury. I really think that I projected it to be 3.4 in the beginning of the year. It tipped up to 3.1 just about 2-3 weeks ago. I think if we hit that 3.3, 3.4 threshold, that's really going to it's going to hold those rates, and I think we'll see that probably mid-July. So it's going to be a good month. If you're really thinking about buying here in Las Vegas, it might be a good time to lock in. I don't know where rates are going to go in the next couple months. We did see a little bit of an adjustment, and they did get a little bit better the last couple weeks. Again, I think that's world markets affecting us. Just as we have the European Union kind of settling out and what Italy's doing, those are having a lot of impacts to us, and people wanting that European money wanting to move into our bonds and move into something that's going to be more consistent. And so, I see that cycle happening, but again, we have to really watch for that 10-year treasury. It's been a good benchmark for us, and I do think that rates are going to continue to rise.
When you're dealing with a client that's trying to buy a home and they're going through the financing process, what's the most popular hindrance on their ability to get the loan? Is it credit score? Is it taxes? What's sort of the most common hurdle you have to come across with people?
Money, savings.
Yeah.
People just some people just live beyond their means, or they don't save. They may have a lot of good income coming in, but they have $1,000 car payment and a lot of other bills that are coming in a fast life. So I'd say down payment. I see a lot of other good things, but that'd be one of the biggest struggles that we have.
So how does this impact? How does this impact the rental market, residential?
In what aspect? In what aspect?
Does it put a lot of pressure on it? Is it driving rental rates up? Is it static?
Rental rates have gone up over 25% the last 3 years. I believe they'll continue to go up as we continue to grow in population and have a housing shortage. So also you've got investors that live in other states that have a much higher rental per square footage. And as those investors continue to move into our state, and a lot of those people that live in those states continue to move here for better opportunity, they're used to paying that higher rent cost, and so they're willing to pay that higher rent cost here. So when you have the investor that comes from another state and you have the renter that comes from another state, you have that perfect recipe for an increase in rental cost. You've seen that. Again, it's 25% increase over the last 3 years. What used to be $1,000 is now $1,250.
Since you know the Las Vegas Valley so well, are there any parts of town that really jump out at you as kind of overlooked, underrated, place that may be on the rise as a good place to live and to buy a house?
Yeah, I'm glad that you worded that very carefully. I have to be very careful in where I say what is better or different than anything.
Sure.
However, in my opinion, I really have an eye on North Las Vegas. I wouldn't have dare even live there 10 years ago. Today's world, we've got some sales happening on some businesses that happened out there that were kind of deterrent to wanting to be out there. We've got a lot of land being built on out there, 1,000 houses being built. It's really kind of been the the area that's been for sale per square foot is it's been a lot lower than the rest of the valley. And right now we've got a lot of the $1 million homes being built along the ridge by Aliante to help out with the CEOs that are going to be there. So my answer would be North Las Vegas. The medical facilities from the VA hospital, I think UNLV is looking at building some of their research centers out there. So just a lot of good things going on out there.
Medical corridor does a lot for underlying home values. You start seeing medical schools expansion of their campuses. The VA building out there in the middle of nowhere certainly started building everything. All of a sudden, it was okay to build around there.
Henderson Hospital.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know of any expansions that are happening in that area in terms of medical that would also drive?
I'd have to pass that to one of the real estate professionals. Just being the finance guy on that, I don't have any on the record thing I could say that's going to be expanding, except I do know that UNLV is very focused on their expansion of their medical program, and that's going to attract a lot more national attention.
Cool. Well, we like to play a game around here, and that is just a few observations. You're a guy who gets around town. Tell us about your favorite downtown restaurant.
Triple George's.
That comes up a lot.
It's a knockoff to the replica to Tattage Grill in San Francisco. It's got a great vibe, and it's just a classic.
Yeah. Which is and you don't have to wait for an hour and a half like you do in San Francisco. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
What about well, this one might be a little biased for you, but how about your favorite place to live in Las Vegas? What area of town?
I love the Southwest. They're the best sunsets, better than having a beach. So I'm very particular to the Southwest. I like the flow of life. I like the people. And again, the sunsets on the Red Rocks are amazing every day.
And that's an area of town that I'm thinking that they're going to start expanding a lot.
You know what? I'm
all
going
that space
to
out
jump
there.
in right now, just real quick, because we have friends and associates who move their businesses out there. I specifically remember asking them the question, "Are you out of your freaking mind?" But you can get in and out of that southwest corner so quickly. You can be in Green Valley in 5 or 6 minutes. You can be all the way in the northern end of Summerlin in 5 or 6 minutes. It really does make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, all the sense of the world.
It's a great area.
If you made a big score, they dropped off your check for $20 million, how would it change your life, and what would you do with it?
It would change my life by giving me a lot of opportunity of freedom and liberty. What I would do with it, well, I would definitely invest it well, and I'd probably look to help out some of the homeless teens here in Las Vegas and contributing more to that program and making sure that they have a safe place to be. Maybe providing a building that had some more beds available for them, because I know that they're in a really big shortage out here in Las Vegas for homeless teens. So if I could do something to give back, that'd be something I'd probably give my energy to on that.
Well, this question we tend to gear it toward politicians, but since you're in the real estate market, I'll make it a little easier on you. But who do you look up to today?
Who do I look up to today?
Who's like your mentor, or your sort of the person you look up to sort of achieve and be similar to?
My Lord and Savior God is an amazing person. I do a lot of reading of the Bible, and really I just look up to positive information. If somebody has something positive to say, a positive message, I'm all ears. So I can't say I really specify one exact person, one guru. However, I love positive, and if I can, focus on that, it's been a good thing.
What is success?
Put me on the spot.
You know a little bit about life now. You're in it. What is success? How do you define success?
Success is rented daily. It's something that you achieve, but you have to show up tomorrow and go after it again. Success is giving your all and achieving great things. And with that, you are there to set an example. So I would say it's rented daily, and it's something you always have to continue to go after.
I like that, rented daily. That's a very true point.
Well said. And with that, we call it a day. Thank you so much for joining us today, Josh.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It is wonderful to see you. Tyler Morgan, publisher of Vegas Legal Magazine. Thanks for doing the good work and bringing new life to the legal community in Southern Nevada. Jeff Haney, Vice President of Fiero Communications. For all of you out there with a story idea, an axe to grind, get a hold of Vegas Legal, the leading magazine in the Southern Nevada legal market. You can call Tyler at
702-222-3476.
Reach out. Tell us. Tell your friends.